such a time as this.
And welcome back to For Such a Time as This, the place where there is no such thing as a silent witness. Would ask you to subscribe to the channel. Once we get to a certain subscription, certain things unlock, and we are able to do more. So please subscribe to the channel. As usual, want to start off with a text. Genesis 17, 7 and 8. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you. Jesus is talking to Abraham, and his covenant he's making with Abraham and Abraham's offspring. Between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant. An everlasting covenant. Everlasting, an everlasting covenant. What does everlasting mean? It means everlasting. It means forever. An everlasting covenant to be God to you and to your offspring after you. To you and to your offspring after you. Offspring after you. Offspring after you. Verse 8, and I will give to you and your offspring after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting. He keeps using that term, everlasting. The offspring after you, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. Two terms, everlasting and offspring. I don't know how you get around that. Now, this is somewhat a secondary issue within the Christian faith, but there are those who believe that God is done. He's done with the nation of Israel. And I love you. I love those who believe in what's called a replacement theology, but there's two terms that I have a problem with. Everlasting and offspring, particularly offspring after you, land. Here's one such gentleman as he tries to explain that the church has replaced Israel, the offspring, the physical offspring of Abraham, and the offspring of Abraham is now gone, the physical. God is done. Here he is.
That many of the Jewish people in AD 70, they saw it as the exact fulfillment to the words of Christ, and they realized in that moment, oh my goodness, he was right, we crucified our Messiah. And they actually got out. Many were destroyed and died in Jerusalem who did not believe. They stayed thinking, oh, we'll make it. God will defend us. They stayed and they were conquered and they died. But the ones who escaped, they escaped because they saw it as a fulfillment to Christ's words, and they believed, they heard and believed his words. They said, whoa, this is what Jesus said would happen before us, this generation passed away. He actually was the Messiah, and we should believe in him, salvation. So they became Christians, and also we should practically obey him by getting out of Dodge. And so the Jews who lived were the Jews who became Christians. They converted to Christianity. They believed the words of Jesus, and they fled. They escaped from that desolation in AD 70, and they mingled. Therefore, they no longer have a nation state, which means they're now refugees in other places. They committed themselves, this is the logical conclusion, committed themselves to the apostolic teaching of the New Testament that says it is not about one who is a Jew outwardly of the flesh, but inwardly, not circumcision of the flesh, but circumcision of the heart. So they no longer put stock in their Jewishness according to the flesh, believed that Jesus was the Messiah, converted to Christianity, escaped the judgment. All the ones who didn't have this heart change stayed and died in the judgment. And so now these guys, they're Christians, they're alive, and they're not putting stock in the flesh anymore, and they don't have a nation state to mingle in anymore. So they're dispersed, a dispersion among all these other Gentile countries, and they likely, logically, intermarried with them. And so who are the physical Jews today? Here it is. Nobody. Nobody. There are Palestinians. They've swabbed 2,000-year-old catacombs underneath Israel, and there are Palestinians that actually match up more than Ashkenazi Jews. And there are people who argue for the black Hebrew Israelites, and people who argue, well, the Caucasians, because they dispersed them above the Caucasus Mountain. I love all those views. You know why I love them? Not because I believe them. I love all those views because I love every time somebody comes to me and says, white people are actually the physical descendants. Black people are the descendants. Palestinians are the descendants. Ashkenazi Jews are the descendants. Or here's an alternative. Titus destroyed the temple. The birth records were literally kept in the temple so that God in his providence saw fit that no one would be able to prove who actually was a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Because now what matters is faith in Christ. Faith in Christ.
The birth records being kept the physical birth records being kept in the temple, that's not true. If you talk to those who claim to be the physical descendants of Abraham, they will tell you that in their family records are kept records of genealogy. And it's not just one, it's many, many. I would encourage him or anyone else who doubts that, look on YouTube, do a little research about the Jews that came up from Africa, went up to Jerusalem and challenged the Israeli state and put their proof of who they were before the state, and the state accepted them because they had family records. Okay, when dealing with this guy, again, I would love to ask this gentleman, please explain. My covenant between me and you and your offspring throughout their generation for an everlasting covenant. I would like to ask him, what does everlasting mean? To be a God to you and to your offspring after you, and I will give to you and your offspring after you. What will you give, God, to Abraham and Abraham's offspring after him? The land of your sojournings. Let's be more specific. All the land of Canaan. How long are you going to give Canaan to Abraham's offspring? For an everlasting possession. How do you get around that? Please let me know. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am not saying that the state of Israel is perfect. Quite the contrary. They did crucify the Christ. And then for the most part, they are living in rebellion to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. But until you can explain to me what everlasting means, let's be specific. That everlasting does not mean everlasting. And your offspring, Abraham, after you. God understands, he respects, and he will preserve cultures and peoples. How do I know? Because in heaven, you see people from every tribe and every tongue worshiping. Tribe, tongue, culture, worshiping. Heaven done. Israel's not done. The offspring of Abraham's not done. Again, what does everlasting mean? It means forever.
For such a time as this,